and of course Devil.
Yeah, so Brenchong going up against Celsior. They're going to pick the Lyra. As I said, Lyra is extremely strong. With Grace being slightly nerfed, I think Lyra has really found her place, and it's going to be high priority for all the teams playing today. I don't think there's a lot of different directions they could go. They're going to pick the Flex Batiste, which is a really smart idea. Batiste can go either as a captain or as a jungler. With Catherine banned, they don't have to worry about giving away Batiste to Catherine. So I think it's likely that they might try and get rid of maybe Idris or Vox now, and then just pick up maybe an Arden, or they could flex Idris, because I know they're just going to ban it away. They don't want to play Idris, they don't want to play against it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do pick up Kestrel actually as the second pick if it's not banned away from them.
Yep, I mean, Castro is very strong right now. During the challenges, in fact, throughout that of the Vainglory 8 series, we do see a lot of Castro being picked up, and the teams that can utilize Castro's early game prowess to its best extent usually would take that game. We do see that Idris and of course the Lance being banned out from the side of Brenchong. So Lance, at this point in time, he's kind of iffy. We haven't quite seen him played a lot as well. So what do you think of the ban coming out from the side of Brenchong?
Brenchong do like to play Lance a reasonable amount, but obviously they've already picked Lyra, so they don't want to play Lance as a roam, and so they want to ban it away, because Celsior can play Lance. They don't play it a lot, but they played it occasionally. The Glaive pick's smart, because Brenchong like to play Glaive, so Celsior picking that away from them. It's also a flex pick. They either have picked their 2 carries or one of their captains. That's a really smart pick from Celsior. Cruel Celeste is a fantastic combination of heroes. They synergize really well together. Cruel Celeste, they have a double stun, and if you try and focus Celeste, Cruel will kill you, and if you try and focus Cruel, Celeste will kill you. It's a really good draft from Brenchong. I think obviously Sky could work, but she's not that good against Cruel. I'd like to see this Batiste go to captain. Now they pick up a Crystal Power jungler. Kestrel could work really well. It would be a good counter to Cruel, because Cruel has trouble getting on top of Kestrel. They could just go for the Samuel, and they're going to go Scarf. They're going to go for a mage. Makes sense. You try and out-poke Celeste, and Scarf can do really well against Cruel. So I think this is a good draft from both teams. Obviously, the early game is going to be in favour of Brenchong with that Cruel pick, but in the late game, Scarf's going to be an absolute menace to try and deal with.
I must agree with you. We do see, though, this comp coming up from the side of Brenchong played a lot by 5-0 first, as we saw yesterday when they did make it into the top 8 teams, or rather the top 3 teams of the Challenger series. So, this Cruel and of course Celeste being picked up, quite a strong combination. I must agree with you on that. However, on the side of Celsior, they have got relatively good counters as well. With that, Batiste can go up against the Cruel, just setting Ordains down when Cruel tries to rush in. And of course, you have that Glaive that can peel very well for that Scarf as well. So, I must agree with you on the fact that they drafted really well. Both teams, they've got their pros, they've got their cons, but definitely the early game would have to go over to the side of Brenchong with that Celeste pickup, with that Cruel. The Celeste has got a very good early game gang potential working, if working well with that Cruel. Cruel Shadows Empowers Me, that's slow, and on top of that, you can chain it into that of the core collapse. But there's one thing that's different, and that is a Lara being picked up. You no longer have got access to Grace's Holy Nova if you do pick up that Lara, and that is what that kind of drove that team come through for 5-0 first in yesterday's matches.
Yeah, I think the Grace over Lyra Grace is a worse captain in terms of the utility she provides, but it's better because she has a stun. So you can have that triple stun comp, whereas with a Lyra, you only get double, and it's not as useful. The Bulwark is helpful, but Holy Nova is so easy to land when you have full stun onto a Celeste stun that I think maybe Grace would be a better pick. Perhaps Brenchong are just more comfortable on Lyra, so they want to pick that. And it's something interesting to note is that Celeste will almost definitely be in lane up against this Glaive. So the gank, the after from Glaive won't be as easy to do as if Glaive was in jungle, being able to rotate up, unless it may even be a Scarf lane. So we could see 2 mages battling it out in the lane, and 2 melee junglers, which we haven't seen that much of, Crystal Lane and Weapon Jungle. It would be interesting to see. I think Glaive would make more sense in jungle because he can easily gank Celeste, and I think if they put Glaive in lane, that could be a bit of a problem. What do you think, Celsior should? What should they put in lane and jungle?
I must agree with you. They should just put a Scarf in lane because Scarf do not quite need need the level 8. And even if he does, his power spike is not as great as that coming out from Celeste at the end of it all. And on top of that, putting Scarf in lane, your Spitfire do outrange that of Celeste's Heliogenesis pre-level 8. So that is one thing that's good for you. And on top of that as well, Batiste and of course Glaive, if placed in the jungle, in their respective roles, the jungle and of course the jungler and of course they're the captain, they can easily pull off ganks. But we cannot deny the fact that Glaive, usually on that weapon carry, will want to be in lane, whereas they can just put a Scarf in that of jungle just so they can try to threaten Cruel and not allow Cruel to come through into their jungle. But yet again, Cruel just does very well against Scarf.
Yeah, I think Glaive should also be in jungle because if Cruel tries to invade you, you have to secure your farm. That's the first priority. Then you have to not die is the next priority. And so Glaive's fantastic at that. If he can get the CS away from Cruel and then afterburn over a wall, and then Cruel's got nothing. Can't follow up unless there's vision to use the dead man's rush over a wall. And even so, that's a really hard ability to get over a wall. It's quite hard to even go to your fronts over that wall. So to get a Glaive would be even harder to do. Whereas Scarf has to use boots. If Cruel gets on top of her, Scarf has the boots to get away. And even then, if the slow lands, your boots aren't as effective. So I think Scarf in jungle wouldn't be the worst idea because she can get levels quicker. She can get up to a level 12 power spike quicker than Celeste will because Scarf in jungle she'll level quicker. But I just think that would be a mistake and they'll put themselves at a disadvantage. And in level 8, this is when Celeste really gets her power spike in the mid game. Would you expect to see Brenchong starting to do some team fights? And is there anything Celsior can do to try and stop the power spike of Brenchong from just overpowering them? Because it's likely Celeste will hit level 8, Cruel might be up to about level 10. What do you think Celsior can do to stop Brenchong just overpowering them at that point in the game?
I think, honestly, it is just down to the early game and how the side of Celsior will play it. Because if the side of Brenchong will run the early game as such as 5-0 first, then we will see a very patient Cruel just waiting in lane for the opportune time to go in with that heroic perk charged up, and of course DMR as well. And with that, you can chain it with Celeste's Core Collapse. So whether or not the side of Celsior Esports can deny that from happening is really just down to vision control firstly, and of course the amount of pressure they can put in lane. So it is just down to the early game. If Celsior Esports work their early game well, counter engaging, or rather do not allow this Cruel to engage, then they will definitely have the later part of the game when Scarf can reach the perk, the power spike, and of course Batiste with those fearsome shade can just chase Cruel away if Cruel ever just chooses to dive in. And on top of that, there's a Glaive on the side of Celsior Esports, a great peel, like I said, a very good way to just cause chaos within the team comp coming out from the side of Brenchong. I mean, in yesterday's game, we did see no Glaive really picked up against the Cruel and Celeste combination, although and Glaive really needs to get into the backlines, get hold of Celeste, and then just, eliminate Celeste immediately, and then the side of Celsior can just slowly pick on that Cruel. So honestly, it is down to early game, and I'm expecting a lot of aggression that will be happening within the lane itself. But then again, both of these teams rather even in terms of the point standings at this point in time, and on top of that, rather even in terms of gameplay as well.
Yeah, they're very, very similar skilled teams, very, very similar mechanics. That was a good point you brought up, that if we do see Scarf in lane and Glaive in jungle, then Brenchong are very likely to just try and gank lane instead. Whereas if those roles are swapped, whereas Glaive goes to lane, Scarf in jungle, Cruel's just going to invade the jungle. So it's pretty much that Cruel's going to go wherever he can find Scarf. So there isn't that much Celsior can do to stop it, apart from, as you said, the Fearsome Shade from Batiste once he hits level 6. Very likely to be an echoed Fearsome Shade. And there will be a lot of CC, a lot of peel to keep Celsior's Scarf alive. But do they really want to play like that? Perhaps we're going to see Celsior be the aggressors, because there are two ways the fight can work out. Either Cruel engages in, Celsior gets him off with Fearsome Shades and Ordains and afterburns from Glaive, then they try and win the fight from Pope. Or Glaive goes in with an afterburn on Celeste, punts her back into a Goop from Scarf and Ordained from Batiste. Celeste can't go anywhere if the block is already been used. Then they burst Celeste down, and after that, Cruel really has nothing he can do. The Celsior have a couple of different ways to fight, whereas Brenchong are all in one playstyle. They have to have Celeste poke at the start. Cruel has to get on top of Scarf. No one else. Cruel gets on top of Glaive. It's kind of useless. Batiste obviously isn't that useful. They have to block the Fearsome Shade, dodge the second one if he gets an Echo. And so I think Celsior have a couple of different ways they can try and win. The only problem for them is if Glaive tries to afterburn Celeste in, whereas Scarf tries to back off and kite Cruel, then they're executing different win conditions and they're not going to play as a team together. So that could be a problem for Celsior.
Yep, very interesting point. But then again, in yesterday's game, I'm just going through and going back onto yesterday's game because it is quite a prime example to bring out as well. A lot of engagement was just initiated by the Cruel instead of the Celeste just poking down first, like you said. So we will be looking forward to see this Cruel just starting those engagement with the From Hell's Heart. If not, I mean, in yesterday's game at least, a lot of From Hell's Heart do start the initiate. If not, then Cruel just rushes in with that perk, slows them down, throw From Hell's Heart to the back, and then try to get the 3.3 second stun. And then on top of that, chain it with Celeste's Core Collapse. But problem with, how they are going to play, if they are going to play exactly like 5-0 first, what happened is that a lot of peel, and of course from Batiste as well, Fearsome Shade is a very big ultimate that the side of Brenchong has to keep in mind when they want to go in for the initiate, or rather that team fight. And on top of that, Celeste is really left vulnerable because Lyra has to Arcane Passage and has to lay down the Bright Bulwark, so Celeste can poke from the back lines. True, granted, she can do that. But then we cannot forget that Glaive can easily work around the Bright Bulwark, get into the back lines, take down Celeste first. Else, Celsior Esports can also play another way where they just sandwich their stuff, protect the stuff, at all means possible. But then again, that way they might just lose out in terms of damage because Cruel do not want to protect Celeste at all. Cruel just wants to be that deterrent for you to get into the back line. So if you do want to get into the back line, you must get through me first. And that is really just Cruel's hero and how he's being used. So he has to be in the front line. He's going to put down those weakness stacks. And it's just down to whether or not Celsior can work around that Cruel, around that Bright Bulwark, and get onto that Celeste in the back lines in the late game.
That's a good point you made there, Luxuria. And now we are into the Halcyon Fold. And so, casting this game, I'm going to be joined by the absolutely fantastic Azurai.
Hello. So we're going to be starting off our first game in this best of 5. I'm really excited to see what Brenchong and Celsior can do in this match. So like you said, it's going to be kind of iffy here to see how, the Glaive and that Crow actually interact with each other. So here we are, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that Brenchong can do this. I said there was only one where Celeste pokes, then Cruel engages. But as I said, Cruel could just start the engagement with From Hell's Heart, and then before Celeste hits Broken Myth, there's really no point to try and outpoke the Scarf. You might as well just do your burst damage with Helio, Supernova, and Core Collapse. So that could work out, and it looks like they're going to fight over this tree, and Brenchong's got 3 members.
We got 3 members indeed, but the Batiste will be hanging a little bit far behind, just in case, the other member of Celsius will be in a bit of a pickle, but I guess they're just going to forfeit it for the meantime and keep themselves in the lane to at least maybe offset a little bit of that one. There's going to be Highest looking onto Dead Hunt, but he's only level 1, so maybe he just has actually nothing in his skill set just yet.
He's waiting to see if he needs to get that bad mojo, or if he gets Ordained first. Because if, let's say, Cruel comes up to a level 1 gank, he wants to have the Ordained available. Whereas if he doesn't, he just wants to get bad mojo. So he's waiting. He's seeing right now. We've seen Celeste. I'm just going to get the Ordained first, and he wants to make sure that he didn't have to use bad mojo, maybe to stop Lyra from pushing at level 1. So it's not the worst idea to just wait. And we are going to see a double mage in the lane. So that means Cruel is going to focus all of his emphasis in the lane, most certainly, because if he tries to invade Glaive's jungle, it's just not going to work.
Interesting to see here. Look at this. Devil versus Sync 1. Devil's actually a couple of CS behind. He was, I think he was waiting in lane for a possible, I guess, early game skirmish, and then he kind of lost control of the farming against this Krull.
Yeah, Krull is ahead. He's got 2 Elder Treants, Sync1, and possibly maybe Spitfire took a bit of CS away from Devil in the early on when they took their backs together. I know Sync1 almost definitely got all of his jungle. Maybe Devil gave some of it over to Scarf. Because he had Minion Candy already on highest. It does make sense. Minion Candy is very strong, and they know that Celeste backed off. They know Celeste wants to get ambient golden jungle, which she is currently doing. But with the Minion Candy, that means her wave's going to be pushed a lot quicker, and maybe she'll lose even more CS than if they hadn't have used Candy. So that was a smart play from highest on the Batiste.
True enough, they're going to be forcing Mr. Jim to actually respond to this Minion Candy push with the help from Dead Hunt, and still Krull onto the sidelines. Not going to be helping out his team in the lane, as actually Celsior is going to be stacking it up quite a bit. So here it is, the 3-man push in the lane, while Krull will be in the jungle just getting as much farm as possible. So they're really looking to, I guess, what do you call that? Catapult the Krull into his items as well as into his levels.
Yeah, Devil went for the afterburn on Celeste, but just didn't pump back. He was just barely in front of Celeste.
Oh, there's going to be a catch-off. Mr. Jim is caught off guard, and that's going to be the first blood for Celsior. Good startup for them. So, interesting.
Is it a good start for Celsior, though? Look at the gold. Yeah. They're currently 100 gold ahead. Now they're even, because even though Glaive got a gank, all of his jungle, except the back heel, got taken by Krull. So it's kind of an even trade, even though they got the first blood. The gold's even because all that farm is now on Krull, which he said he was ahead of Dave. Now he's double Glaive CS, and he just lets Celeste get his backs. So this is really good for Brenchong in terms of gold, even though they lost the first kill.
Yeah, seems that's kind of interesting. Wherein Celsior are committing a lot of resources in the lane, and then Brenchong, all they have to do is respond to that a little bit by taking the jungle, which is relatively free for now. And now Celsior, like you said, in a kind of a weird situation where yes, they got the first blood, but then they don't really have the advantage in terms of net worth. But here we are going to see Mr. Jim caught up a little bit. There's going to be the group. There's going to be the connection. Oh, the damage! Another kill here for Celsior. They might actually go and collapse onto Dead Hunt, but well, this Glaive is very low on HP. He might actually spot the Krull in his own jungle, so this could be a little bit of hurt for him. Oh, this could be deadly. Sync1, he's just countering the camps.
He knows, Devil knows that Krull's there. Krull knows that Devil knows, because there was a Crystal Sentry, and they're going to go in. Good ordained.
Good ordained indeed. Sync1 with the damage, going in with the DMR. Oh, there's some from Hellsheart, but not enough damage at all. And Highest able to give a lot of support for Devil, and finally, they at least keep this Krull in a way tethered to his own.
They say it's 3-0 for the side of Celsior at the moment, but there's no gold lead. They're in fact behind on gold because Krull has just taken every back rotation pretty much. Mr. Jim is caught out.
But caught out indeed he will. Actually, now Celsior is showing a lot of their brute strength in terms of the pickoffs. So you can see here 2 types of different, I guess, playstyles for this early game.
Yeah, definitely. Sync1 is level 6, used it from Hell's Heart, and highest's rotation down into the jungle with Devil pretty much saved his life, because the Ordained stopped Krull getting the slow onto Glaive, forced him to use the ultimate, and still didn't have fortified health. So that basically was so important for Highest to do, to keep Sync1 tethered, as you said, and stop him from just snowballing this Glaive. And yeah, Mr. Jim needs to be more careful. He needs to stay as far back as he is now when they haven't got vision on Glaive. Because if Glaive is just waiting in the bush, then Mr. Jim is out of position, or has been so far in this game. Spitfire is doing extremely well on the CS, 66 CS, and now going to get both laners going to get ambient. We're expecting to see a lot of this because they're both mages. They need to be farmed up, and actually Spitfire is taking this farm away from Devil. So now that Devil has lost his in the CS battle to Krull, Celsior going, okay, we're just going to put all of our farm onto Spitfire, put all our emphasis on the Scarf, and Glaive's just going to be a peel for Scarf, who's in the late game is going to do all the work for us.
True enough, but now we are seeing the Solar Storm and from Hell's Heart off cooldown here for Brenchong, so they actually might want to go for a little bit of aggression here, and there's Sync1 gonna do the Deadman's rush into the top brush. Devil's gonna be here, wants to initiate, but maybe they spotted out Krull right there on that very sneaky brush. They don't want to go in a bit too over-aggressive because they might actually over-position themselves, or rather overextend themselves. Here's going to be Glaive, 1v1 against the Krull, takes a little bit of damage, but this is still a 3v3 in the lane. Spitfire already chugging out a lot of, well, Spitfires from this, from this Scarf, but still no poke damage too much from either side of these teams.
Both teams looking to get the poke war started before they engage. But Celsior are trying to find out Cruel. They know there's 2 heroes in there. Highest has found that out. His afterburn.
Oh, they're starting it off right now. There's going to be the passage. They spot it. Spitfire has to back off as this Cruel is just diving in for days. Glaive as well have to back away because he didn't do the damage that he was supposed to onto Mr. Jim. There's going to be the kill. First kill here for Brenchong. Will they actually go to follow it up onto Highest, onto Spitfire? I guess that's going to be a no for now. Cruel will be backing off into his own jungle, and now it's going to be just a 2v2.
It will. Spitfire is finally playing Scarf. I've said Spitfire doing the afterburn or Spitfire doing the forward block far too many times. Finally, it is Spitfire doing Spitfire. And yeah, that was a really good fight from Brenchong. Mr. Jim bought a block, used it against the Glaive afterburn, so he was repositioned, but he blocked the stun, which means Celeste was far away from Glaive and was able to run away. And the Arcane Passions from Lyra almost saved Glaive's life, but instead of being on top of Cruel, it just put Glaive on top of Celeste instead. Spitfire didn't actually fall to Cruel. Cruel nearly got it. Now he's got the journey boots. Sinquan will probably be able to stay on top of Scarf really easily. And that's really quite important because he has the damage. He has attention bow and a bit of attack speed. Scarf at the top bush.
Oh, this is going to be dirty. He was just actually off of cooldown, but he blocks it. The From Hell's Heart was stopped from getting that connection of the crowd control. Nice reaction time there from Spitfire. Here comes Devil looking for an afterburn push. He's going to be aggressive. He is already level 8, so he's up there. Now, still got to be careful. They do know that at least one ultimate from Brenchong is down, but Celsior are playing this as carefully as possible. They don't want to be overly aggressive. Spitfire, oh, he's just baiting Sinquan right now. You can see he wants to push him, and maybe Devil will capitalize, but I guess that was just a well-timed face-off, but no engagement whatsoever.
Yep, ultimate use. Sinquan's Hell's Heart is on cooldown, so is Highest, Spears and Shade. So yeah, if one's used, the other one's just going to be used to disengage. That's pretty expected between these two teams. But 6-1 from Hell's Heart has a lower cooldown, so that is going to be up before the Spears and Shade. Highest is looking towards an Echo, and Celsior, with this Scarf, just get the first turret for pretty much free. Brenchong not rotating cleverly. There was no one in lane when all three from Celsior were up. Glaive is waiting.
Sinquan.
He's in a bad position compared to the rest of the team.
He activates it. A couple of mobilities from this Krull. He wanted to go for it. He so badly did, but he paid a little bit of the price as for Mr. Jim's life. Spitfire's right there. Could actually throw right now a From Hell's Heart, but here on the sidelines, Spaghetti and Devil are looking for an engage. So he said this is the start of either the Glaive or the Krull, and then all hell will break loose. But rather, both of these teams not really gonna be overcommitting to anything.
It does seem like whichever team decides to engage, they're in a worse position.
So now we'll be.
She might have an arcane passage, and what were you pointing out there, Azawai?
Yes, actually nothing. I was just about to say that it looks like they were about to push, but now they're gonna be actually here in the jungle. Spitfire is super aggressive. Look at that. He's gonna be the forward man here on the Mage Scarf nonetheless. He's really, I would say, confident in the skills that maybe he's just trying to bait out from Hell's Heart just to make it null and void so that Label can get in.
Yeah, that could be a good idea for Spitfire. Just to make Cruel ult. Spitfire knows that he can block it. It's reasonably easy to block a Cruel ultimate unless it's at point blank range. And Sinquan is just, they know he's going to be in a bush because then he gets the Shadows and Power Me speed boost. And there he's going to go to Devil. Nope, just a bait. A little bit of damage and back off. So yeah, Celsior are going to flare out. They're going to check all the bushes because they know Cruel's in one of them. They just have to find out which one.
Yeah, Highest, it's the captain though, has now an Echo in his sights. Oh, the From Hell's Heart is not going to keep connecting. Actually, it does onto Highest. That was intended to do, but still they are able to make something out of it. Gets the one kill onto the Batiste. Will they capitalize onto the mid, or rather onto the first tier turret? I don't think they will for now, but that was an improvise from Brenchong that they went in and got a kill.
Yeah, I think Cruel tried to land it at max range on Spitfire, but ever so slightly missed. Then went for the boomerang on Spitfire, which was well dodged. but in doing so, the boomerang actually hit highest. That's such a long stun once you get that up from Hell's Heart at a boomerang range. I think it looks like Sync1's going for a Poison Shiv. Despite the nerf to Poison Shiv, it's still quite a good item on Cruel. Gives you attack speed, gives you a little bit of weapon power, and Mortal Wounds are really strong. Even though there's no healing except from the fountain, it's just good to get Mortal Wound on Scarf. They're going to go in.
Oh my goodness, here comes Brenchong, another kill! They're looking now into highest. Brenchong slowly but surely creeping up in the lane, looking to actually get a siege right here on their first tier turret. 14 seconds for the start to come back, but there is no wave at all for Brenchong, so they will just decide to, alright, you know what, we don't have a wave right now, we can't break the turret, so let's just go in, get this gold mine, but onto the side, Devil will be trying to go for the flank. But I don't think he'll be able to make something happen from this one. Maybe just hoping for a little bit of action, but, well, Brenchong will say no. They get themselves as well that gold mine.
Yep, Solar Storm used to secure the gold mine, so that is off cooldown for another 40 seconds, but so is Highest's Fearsome Shade, so they pretty much come up at the same, very similar time. We're not going to see a team fight for another half a minute, and Mr. Jim's playing well on this Celeste. We're actually seeing a core collapse as the first form of CC onto Spitfire, because he's baiting the calls from Hell's Heart. That means he's out of position ever so slightly, and that gives a free core collapse for Celeste. And so then Sync1 can do the second CC, where we generally see from Hell's Heart as the first CC. That's really smart for Brenchong to see, okay, Scarf's being a bit out of position, how can we capitalise? We can get our Celeste to do the stun first, and then the Crucible from Dead Hunt used on the Fearsome Shade really well to keep Thrall on top of Scarf. And Highest forgot to echo his Fearsome Shade. That means it wasn't available again to try and stop a disengage. I reckon he's going to use it now. It's obviously ultimates are available. Echo's not on cooldown because it wasn't used. But he's out of position.
Oh no, out of position indeed. He was actually able to block the from Hell's Heart once again, but that Solar Storm was able to capitalize, and they just got blindsided from that one. Celsior right now, they didn't start too well in the early stages. They get the first blood. Oh, so many traps though. Brenchong have to back away. Second, third trap. Dead Hunt was able to back off, but the goop, the burn. Oh, there's gonna be the shield. Oh, he's just gonna go, and there's kill by the Scarf rather. Will they get it onto the Scarf as well? Yes, Mr. Jim able to actually get the revenge for Dead Hunt. And now they're going for that turret. Celsior Devil, does he have the capacity? Does he have the lengthiness to survive into this game? Oh, the shield! He will survive for just a smidgen. And Sync1 still able to chase him down, even through that Fearsome Shade. And Celsior, oh my goodness. They are not having a time of their lives in this fight, as they are struggling to go against Mr. Jim and Sync1. Now they've broken the turret, and Highest, you're just a captain. You don't have the damage, and you are down.
He tried to defend the turret, not quite able to do so. Spitfire, are you going to go for it? No, there's a crawl there. No, Spitfire, smart to back it off. And yeah, Highest almost saved Devil. Devil was so low, so close to dead, but he did fall in the end. And Squall's picked up a Shiver Steel. It did get a slight buff, giving a slightly longer stun, and so it's found itself a bit more of a place. And yeah, Sync1 has got such a cheap build. Journey Boots, Tension Bow, Poison Shiv, and Shiver Steel, such cheap items that he is one item ahead of Glaive, just because he doesn't have to spend much gold to get it. And so I think in the late game, if the game does go past about 22 minutes, Spitfire will really have a great chance of winning this on Scarf, because late game Cool's going to be doing little damage. Glaive will do more because it looks like he's building for Sword Blade, or maybe even Breaking Point. And obviously Scarf is that late game powerhouse, whereas Celeste really shines in the mid game, as we have been seeing. About 3k gold lead for Brenchong, because Celeste is better than Scarf between level 8 and level 12. So now Celsior just have to wait. If they wait long enough, they should be okay. 3 items on Scarf, 4 items on Celeste. So this is another good time for Brenchong to fight. They're ahead on items, and they're ahead on gold. And right now is when they're actually ahead on items.
Kraken is now up. There is the Echo purchase for the Lyra, so we're going to be seeing possibility of the double bulwark, double passageway even, if they wanted to be a bit more, I guess, mobile, but they're going to start it up, and there you have it. Initiations from Brenchong all day long, and the hero kick onto the Scarf. Spitfire is down for the count. Devil has to back away, using that afterburn defensively, smashes himself onto the minion, but it's not really going to happen. And now maybe Brenchong looking to engage onto the Kraken. Yes, they will. There's a flare from Highest. We'll be spotting them out, so they know what's up. Devil will be looking for the flanks here. as he is trying. Well, he will be trying his best to get that last hit. Does he have it in him? Can Glaive do the work? Oh, Highest had to pay for his life right there. And, oh, he's getting pushed out right now. Can he actually do it? He's going for the speed boost, but Sync1 is body blocking him all day long. It's gonna be close. Does he get it? No! And there's gonna be the delayed ace here for Brenchong. Even gets the Kraken, and what a play from Brenchong.
Yeah, I think Devil had to go for the steal. Celsior really aren't winning these team fights. It's unlikely they're going to be able to defend this Kraken. Spitfire could be out of position.
And they chase him down once again. He is just slowed for days. There's going to be the goop to keep Sync1 at bay. But, well, no, he's just going to be like the Jaws shark. Just getting out of the water, biting at his opponent.
Slightly out of position. Spitfire blocked one of the slows from Paul. With that Shiver Steel, he has so many slows that Scarf's just going to be unable to get away. I think the portal Arcade Passions and Lyra is like a bit of excess. It's just not needed. Paul's on top of Scarf, and then Lyra's like, yeah, I'm here too. I've got a passageway.
So basically, they made a dragon into a snail.
Yeah, it took away its wings. Scarf going to go for the fight.
Here we go. There it is. The Dragon's Breath activated. Mr. Jim surviving for such a long time right here. And they did already break down onto the turret. But it's only going to be Dead Hunt, the Lyra, the captain. Although he does have the help of the Kraken. Look at him just, or rather her, smash onto that core. And this might be a Dead Hunt. Still has a lot of HPs, but no, it's not going to happen. For now, even has the passage away. Will she be able to survive? It's going to be a no to that one, but that was a little bit of cheeky plays coming in from Dead Hunt. An ace here for Celsior, but I don't think they can turn this around just yet.
Vayne is exposed. They do get an ace, and they will get a turret off of that, most likely. There aren't any minions. Spitfire does have massive turret damage. And yeah, the turret's almost just going down purely to the goop. And so Celsior will get one turret in return. Celeste shouldn't try and 1v3 here. They just don't need to throw. They just need to wait. No, Spitfire down to half health from one ultimate from Celeste. It's really, really good. And
Mr.
that was
Jim.
the first time. Yeah, but that's the first time we saw Spitfire actually get a Dragon's Breath off, and it just deleted Mr. Jim. So much damage went down. Obviously, Mr. Jim with lots of sustain from Eve of Harvest on the Solar Storm, but it just wasn't enough. Spitfire's Dragon's Breath absolutely melting, and Mr. Jim is fully built. I think Brenchong just have to they don't need to backdoor, they can just fight. They have so much engaged, so much stuff to get on top of Scarf, that I don't think Highest has got enough CC, despite the fact he's Batiste. He can fear once, that'll be blocked. You just know that. The second fear, Brenchong can just wait for it to be over, use some other kind of engage they've got. They've got so much, and then they'll just get on top of Spitfire.
Yeah, but now you can see Brenchong, they wanted to go a little bit dirty. They wanted to go use that passage from the Lyra and go over the wall and just break and backdoor that core for days. Although,
well,
I think
there's potential. Sentry is down. They definitely can. So that's one thing. Forces Celsior just be here. Celsior could not go anywhere else. But they might just do it. They're going to do it.
They're going to do it. Indeed, they're going to go in. Oh, there's going to be the use afterburn, and they got caught out right here, right now. That's a lot of heals from this Lyra. And trying to keep at least Mr. Jim alive. Mr. Jim, look at his HP! He's actually like going up and down right there. Sync1 still has the damage, has full HP. Fearsome Shade used by Highest, but now Sync1 and Dead Hunt, they know what they have to do. Break down that core. There is no more Scarf to actually defend perfectly here. That Glaive will not be enough to actually hold off Sync1, and that's going to be game one here. Great start for Brenchong.
Well played, Brenchong. In the end, they win with a kind of backdoor. They won the team fights. I think you're safe to say that they played properly to win that game. And I think the main thing there was Mr. Jim's Eve of Harvest did so much work. It just kept him alive for way longer than he should have done. Spitfire's Eve didn't quite do the same. And Crawl's weakness stacks, it hurts.